were a number of extraterrestrial vehicles out there cruising around, flying the same kind of formation we fly in our fighters. They didn't have wings, they were saucer-shaped, and we never could get as high or as fast as they were, so to really positively identify them, but they were metallic-looking and saucer in shape. And they could do a few maneuvers that we couldn't do in an airplane, like just horizontally displace themselves rapidly, be flying along and just move over rapidly.
Gordon Cooper's UFO sighting wasn't his only close encounter. In 1958, he was working as a project manager at Edwards Air Force Base in California.
I had a film crew working for me on a project I was doing to put a precision landing system in on the edge of the dry lake bed. And they were filming the various stages of the installation. And a small saucer apparently flew overhead and put down some landing gear and landed out on the dry lake bed, only about 50 yards out. And these were old pro cameramen who were used to flying in all kinds of vehicles to take all kinds of pictures. And so they picked up their cameras and started over toward it, and going to get some close-ups. And with that, it lifted up, put the gear back in, and at a very high rate of speed disappeared.
They obviously have a different body configuration than we do, and the little grays, that's the most prevalent one.
He walked on the moon. Tonight, he says, aliens are among us.
Former astronaut Lake Worth resident Edgar Mitchell has raised some eyebrows and ruffled some feathers with his claims.
Tonight, News Channel 5's Tim Malloy goes one-on-one with this true believer.
With his beloved terrier in his lap in his comfortable Lake Worth home, he could be a retired insurance salesman. But take a look at Edgar Mitchell's wall, his photo gallery, that picture taken on the moon. Ed Mitchell can captivate you talking about his 9-hour and 17-minute moonwalk. It was a record. But there's something else he'd like you to know.
I don't know how many or where or how they're doing it, but they've been observing us and here for quite some time, and we see these craft all the time.
Ed Mitchell is a straight talker and a true believer that we are not alone.
I believe what I'm saying, and I cite the evidence that I know.
He says that the government he served in the military and as an astronaut is perpetuating cover-ups of alien sightings, going all the way back to the legendary 1947 Roswell incident, an alleged alien spacecraft crash where remains were allegedly recovered.
The reason for the denial was, number one, they didn't know if these were hostile and could we protect ourselves from them. Didn't want the Soviets to know, so they devised to lie about it and cover it up.
Mitchell is unbothered by critics who think the guy with the right stuff has taken a wrong turn. He has no doubt there are alien craft observing Earth right now.
Frankly, I don't see why they would be wanting to fabricate this kind of material. It's almost a negative career-wise for them to be coming forward with this sort of evidence.
In 2008, yet another former NASA astronaut has come forward.
I'm Dr. Brian O'Leary, former NASA astronaut. Not only is the phenomenon very real, but there's also a very elaborate cover-up.
Brian O'Leary, a NASA astronaut from 1967 to 1968, originally slated for a manned mission to Mars, has also come forward. But he wasn't always a believer.
I myself was once a skeptic. Totally rejected the UFO phenomenon. I thought they were hallucinations, marsh gas, Venus. I was on Carl Sagan's bandwagon during the 1960s and while I was an astronaut. After I left NASA, I really began to learn of what it's like to be the target of scoffing by people who would normally be my friends, my colleagues, just because I would inquire into areas that were outside of their box of inquiry.
But were these attitudes passed on to all astronauts, or just to those who were interested in UFOs?
Some of my fellow astronauts and scientist astronauts who did go up and who have observed things, very clearly they were told not to report it.
I when we see a long line.
Amazingly, these shocking video sequences shown here for the first time on television might prove once and for all that NASA knows UFOs are navigating just above the Earth and dangerously close to our space shuttle missions.
When I saw the tape, I realized that I was looking at very exciting, incredible footage that has never before been seen by the public.
David Sarita, a former Defense Department subcontractor, has been studying NASA's possible interest in UFOs for over 15 years. And he believes this incident, which has since become legendary on the internet as the Tether incident, may prove UFOs are real. February 25th, 1996, 100 miles above Africa, an experimental satellite system attached to a 12-mile-long electricity-conducting tether suddenly breaks. Within moments, the satellite drifts almost 100 miles away. Nitrogen gas gathers around the tether, effectively turning it into a gigantic fluorescent light in space. Incredibly, it seems to attract some strange company.
You see a swarm of what may be UFOs flying around it, and then we see the cameras zoom in on these objects, and we see giant discs passing behind this tether.
But the astronauts involved in the mission seem to have a more mundane explanation.
There's a little bit of debris that kind of flies with us.
But is it simply debris, as is often claimed by NASA when looking at alleged UFOs in space? Watch what happens when the cameras zoom in.
What we're seeing on the screen here appears very small, but if you blew this up, you would see that these objects are enormous in size. This UFO here, I measured approximately 2 to 3 miles in diameter against the 12-mile length of the tether. If it's further behind the tether than I think, it could be much larger.
The potential size of these UFOs is clearly mind-boggling. And according to Sarita, so is the advanced technology behind them. Would a piece of space junk pulsate in a regular pattern as we see here?
This spiral, to me, suggests a gravity wave that is stronger than light. This, to me, is proof in quantum physics that these UFOs are utilizing very advanced forms of gravity energy and zero-point energy.
Sarita believes that our space program does not yet possess this technology, nor the capability to perform the startling maneuvers displayed by these UFOs caught on tape during another shuttle mission.
Look over here, you're going to see something that a meteorite cannot do. You're going to see a high-speed, angular turn, and the object continues. The G-forces on a turn like this would flatten any astronaut into a pancake.
Could all these objects be written off as mere space debris, as NASA contends? If that's so, then how can they explain this eye-opening footage of UFOs forming above the Earth?
As these UFOs reach their positions in the circle, they light up, showing incredible intelligence. There we see a UFO light up right in the middle of the circle. This shows intelligence.
Whatever the UFOs videotaped by NASA cameras are, there's no doubt that back down on Earth, they continue to be filmed over every major country around the globe.